Welcome to the Story Machine 9000, a podcast where we conceptualize movies based on the 48-hour concept. We create short stories using 4 elements: a genre, a prop, a line of dialogue, and a location. It's kind of like when you're driving on the street and you see that car that's multicolored because it had been in some sort of accident, so it's part red, part white, part Bondo. My name is Joshua Lytle, a filmmaker and storyteller.
I'm Chris Weigman. I am also a filmmaker.
I'm Dave Ailing, a voiceover guy and part-time dungeon master.
My name is Chad Dankert. I am a filmmaker and a master bedtime story reader.
Awesome.
I should have came up with something extra.
All the times you ever read me, then they've been really nice.
My kids say so.
Let me tell you a story. All right. Well, no time like the present. Let's fire up the story machine.
Chad, can you type your pin in? The machine won't start without a pin.
Yeah, hold on a second.
All right.
Oh,
Did it work?
I think it's connecting to the modem.
Oh,
shit.
Connecting to the old school internet.
Gosh, this takes me back.
Yeah.
hopefully no one else is on the line right now.
Mom, get off the phone.
Oh, there it goes.
All right. Now we're in business.
Did you add some laser beams?
I did indeed. Thanks for noticing.
Looks really good.
All right. Oh boy, here it comes.
All right.
The genre's coming out. It is gangster.
Gangster. That's pretty gangster genre.
Oh, we got more. Yeah, we got more stuff coming out, guys. The prop is a bottle of the world's hottest hot sauce.
Okay.
The line. The line is "I quit!" Exclamation point. I quit.
Excellent.
And the location is a museum.
Okay.
I hope someone wrote those down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Gangster. The bottle of the world's hottest hot sauce.
Mm-hmm.
The quote is "I quit," and the location is a museum. It's not just a bottle of hot sauce. It's the
world's hottest
hot sauce.
Which
Smart.
the world's hottest bottle of hot sauce. When I think about it, like we're always coming up. It seems like we're inventing peppers at this point. It's like it's like a nuclear arms race of peppers. So like we had. Jalapenos were hot when I was a kid, and then there was habaneros if you really wanted to get bananas crazy, and then now we have...
Then there were banana peppers.
Yeah.
When you wanted to get truly bananas.
Ah, right. But then there's like, okay, then you have your, what is it? The ghost pepper was really
ghost
then,
pepper.
like, and then it was the Carolina Reaper is the hottest, and then there was like the Trinidad something or other. Mm-hmm. And all measured in crazy Scoville units and all that sort of stuff. So I imagine that the world's hottest bottle of hot sauce is some undiscovered pepper. It's like somebody made, it's like, oh, this thing, it's the fill in the blank of whatever you think that is going to be.
It's that scene from Jurassic World when they create a new dinosaur because they took all the really gnarly parts from all the baddest dinosaurs. And it's a scientist describing to somebody, we took parts from this pepper and this pepper. You're insane.
And this
You're
has
a
been
madman.
and this has been our Pepper podcast. Thank you for listening.
Yes, and
Our logo was made by Dave Paget.
We are the Scoville unit. Thank you.
Yeah.
well, so
Anyways.
not to jump directly into it, but stuff you were saying, Dave, you had me thinking about, because it does feel like that. It feels like there's someone out there breeding these peppers to be peppers of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And like
I love it.
So
Cornering
what
the
if
pepper
what if
market.
those are some like old Italian families who are, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where my head went too. Unfortunately I've never seen the show, but Narcos, I saw the...
So good.
I watched some of that.
It's so good.
But instead I read a lengthy article about the intro title sequence.
Well,
But that's kind of where my mind immediately went, is so gangster in the sort of the sort of traditional sense, whether it's Italian mob or sort of a Scarface situation or something like that, and then somehow revolving around these insanely almost deadly hot peppers.
Well, I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, that'd be awesome if their last names were the names of the peppers. And also the names of the mobs that they represent. Yeah. It's like, oh, those the jalapenos have been running the game since
the Banana Brothers.
the Banana Brothers, or the
Carolina Reapers.
Yeah, the Carolina.
Yes, the Carolina. Yes, deep in the Carolinas, you have the Reaper family, the Reaper clan.
So I would love to go into a little bit more about gangster movies.
Yeah,
actually.
let's do it.
I think this pepper stuff is really sweet. And we should put the peppers on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
The pepper stuff is sweet, or the pepper stuff is hot.
It's hot. Thank you. The pepper stuff is hot, and I think we should just put it on the shelf. Talk about gangster films for a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do we think of gangster films?
Besides that, they're awesome.
Well, yeah, but what about them's awesome? I mean, gangster films are like some of the oldest, not the oldest films, but they go way back to like film noir.
Right. Some of the stuff that comes to mind is there's like the growing into power, whether it's through inheritance or whether it's through
Scarface.
Your Scarface like taking over
through killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty kind of critical trope.
Yeah, I think it's always kind of your heightened action is always based on power, and you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop for that eventual demise.
So it's like rising, like it's like a constant rise. You know, the main character is almost an anti-hero. I think in a lot of them, the main character is an anti-hero, where they're the bad guy.
You know they're
world,
bad, right?
But you're rooting for them because they are the main character.
Okay.
Yeah, I just even think like in Goodfellas, our main hero is stepping into a world that already exists, rises through power, and then is eventually betrayed by that world, or gets in too deep.
Yeah.
Now then, what would we think of also something like The Untouchables, which isn't a gangster film? I mean, I guess it is, but it focuses on the other side.
It focuses on the law side.
The law side.
Yeah.
I was also thinking of Donnie Brasco too, where he's undercover, also exposing the mob.
Yeah.
So
or like The Departed. Yeah. I mean, that would be another.
Yeah. I was going to bring up, and I've only seen a few episodes, but it's Medici on its Netflix series. Medici, however you say it. And I think there's schools of who knows. Says this is the guy that has an art history degree.
If you know, tweet us.
And let us know. Let us know how I'm mispronouncing and slaughtering the name
Story
of
Machine
Medici.
9K.
But one of the interesting things that they play there is it's it's not technically like a gangster, but it's about massive family who runs the show in Florence, or is coming to power rather. But the way in which they do it there, which is interesting, is they played it as a lot of just like sort of creative problem solving to things. It wasn't as much stabby and
yeah, I mean in Narcos I think that's how it started out too. Like he was running electronics and stuff. It wasn't nefarious at first. He was just super good at being an opportunist.
Right. He's like the craziest out of all of them.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about Narcos.
It's
just the one that will do the dirty.
Do the dirty.
So sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna jump forward a little bit and say let's talk about our character.
Yeah.
Based on what some of the examples that we've shared, and kind of this we did a little bit of exposition in the beginning, so we kind of know what reality we want to be dealing with. This sort of pepper cartel. And so who's our main character, and what is it that they want? And
can we get a refresher on some of the other elements too? I think that might help when you think of where to start.
The quote is "I quit," and the location is a museum.
Okay.
But character, I mean, I think if we had to define it, what are those? Would we focus on said main character, which we already started to say are those people that are sort of, I don't want to say larger than life, but they're the people that sort of, they have that vision, even if they're growing into it, from like a Scarface point of view. They're the people that sort of make the shit happen, or in Narcos, or
someone who was working in the pepper fields growing up, like as a young
and then
person.
Has the gumption to say, I'm better than this. And I think that's what drives a lot of these gangster things, is that their flaw ends up becoming what makes them awesome, and what eventually leads to their downfall.
Ooh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's someone outside of the family too.
So it's a they flew too close to the sun scenario, maybe. Would that be the?
It gets hot up there, Josh. Yeah.
We're going to have a real easy time naming this one, I think.
So, do we want to bring in, this might help with the character a little bit.
Yeah.
But some of the, like Goodfellas, some of these gangster movies are sort of told by the narrator, the main character narrating, and they start in the present, and then they go to the past, and then they catch up with the present. So, I mean, if we want to, we could follow that tradition, and our main character is part of this Pepper Mafia, but and that's where we start out with them, but then they say like, but I wasn't always this hot. And
I like it.
And then we go back in time. They're picking, they're just one of the lowly people picking peppers.
I think of the scene with Joe Pesci being buried in the desert in Casino, or like he's being beat in the desert basically, or I don't know where he ends up. He's in a hole somewhere, getting the shit kicked out of him, and I'm just imagining like people are just like squeezing peppers into people's eyes.
Oh man,
it's like. And he's like, my eyes all.
Or if you had a bunch of like cuts, you had a bunch of cuts all over you, and they were like dripping just straight pepper juice in you.
Just it's the world's hottest hot sauce, and they're just dripping it in their wounds. And they're like, he's like, and it freeze frames like, I never used to be this hot.
The VO said something like things look pretty low right now, but
okay,
wasn't always.
They
this
didn't
bad.
used to be this way.
Okay, so it starts out. Our main character, he's sort of in this dire situation, and then it's sort of. Yeah, let's explain how we got here.
Let me go back in time when he was in a field picking peppers for his family farm.
Is this a dude? I was going to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
We've done a lot of dudes recently. Maybe I'll just throw it out on the table.
I've done tons of dudes recently.
Edit.
I mean, we've got...
Nope, that one cannot be cut out.
Stay in.
That's okay.
Cannot be unsaid. No, but we've got PIP. We've got two guys. The one guy that was in prison. And
That's true.
His friend. And before that, we had...
It's not what is it? A co-ed prison?
No. I'm saying like that was
What's this Wacky Town?
that made sense. Before that, we had the Abstracticon, which was about an artist. I'm just
Yeah.
I mean, we could. I just have a hard time like talking about beating women, which will eventually happen.
But maybe we can make her like really, really badass then. Like a really badass character.
Sure. I mean,
well, what if we?
This guy doesn't.
What if the main, instead of, traditionally there's sort of like the patriarch in your mob type stories.
Okay.
If we're going that way, maybe it's more of maybe there's a matriarch here instead.
Oh,
So maybe that might not be the main character, but it might be like the influencer behind the scenes the whole time.
Okay.
That could be kind of cool. And is it safe to assume that this is based in a Latin American country, or was it? I know you threw out Italian earlier.
I don't know. I just
for setting.
I put it out there.
I
think it could be anything.
Swedish.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it could be hilarious if it's something totally random, right?
So, and I think that raises a question about tone.
Yeah.
Do we want this to be?
Is it serious or funny?
Is it
legitimate? In a way, or
because we're
The
working
subject
with
matter of the hottest hot sauce in the world.
Yeah,
It seems goofy.
But it could be sort of
I don't know. What if
like a Coen Brothers funny,
Yes,
but serious.
Yes.
Well,
It's sort of like a episode of Planet Money or something, right? Truth is stranger than fiction sort of situations, and it's one of those things where you wouldn't expect that there's a chili pepper cartel.
I love
Did
it.
you?
Yeah, and it's actually pretty cutthroat.
it's like the bananas? Have you guys ever heard that story?
Oh yeah.
I think you actually told me that.
Yeah. It was one of those mini documentaries.
Yeah. I remember you describing it to me, and I mean, you piqued my interest with like the question of how do you really think that bananas that get shipped from like so far away cost 89 cents for like a whole bundle?
Yeah.
How do you think that
Amazing.
happens?
Yeah, wars were fought, people were killed for that.
Absolutely.
So, what if? So are we? Did we decide we kind of want to make this an outline, like you don't quite expect it, sort of family? Because I was totally the Latin American sort of story made sense, and now it's like this like Swedish family, like these immigrants that live in some random
I'm gonna give
country.
myself strike 2 on bad ideas today.
I don't know. I mean, did you ever see Lilyhammer?
Yeah, Lilyhammer was
thinking
amazing.
of Lilyhammer a little bit. Or they're like a Germans, living in South America.
Which is actually very plausible.
Yeah, they're Nazi.
Well, their heritage was from
Nazis. That's why German beer, or sorry,
Mexican beer.
Cerveza tastes the way that it does. It's just German lager.
What if we could spin it and do a little bit of both? What if like the traditional families were wherever peppers are traditionally grown? Is that Latin America? But maybe like the like our protagonist family is sort of the outsider.
Well,
you know what I mean? So like they come into the industry and they start shaking it up. It's the Tony Montana in like the Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So just because I think it's a fun historical tidbit, what if it is this German family from Nazi Germany? They escape to Mexico, and so then they're the outsider family, right? But they have to make a new life here, and the youngest recognizes this as an opportunity. He sees all these high rollers.
Right. He went to school for botany and couldn't really figure out, go ahead.
Oh.
Okay.
And that's the perfect cover up, because when the shit hits the fan, everyone's looking for a Latin American cartel in Latin America. So they're not looking for these German folks.
So does the majority of our story take place sometime after World War II, like through the 50s and 60s in Latin America? And is our main protagonist the son of this like escaped Nazi?
I don't know if they're Nazis. I think they're from Nazi Germany.
Well, why did people? I mean, that's why
they're escaping
went to South America.
The Nazis
bad.
The Nazis
went to bad.
But, sorry,
they're bad. Okay, but they were also just refugees.
But I mean, this is the Nazi son. He can be
right.
He can be cool.
He can
But he knows. Okay, so I like this. The family reputation is besmirched because dad was a Nazi. And in Germany, post-war, that ain't too cool. So he escapes to South America to start a new life. Perhaps he's in Juarez, Mexico, and he was a trained botanist.
Whole family or just the guy?
I think it's just the guy.
I think it's just the guy looking.
Yeah.
But I mean,
No. I think it should be just the guy.
But his grandmother's already over there.
Because Nazis fled to Mexico to escape the Nuremberg trials, and so essentially they went off the grid.
So to your point, Chad, it could be a whole family.
Yeah,
then I think what's interesting there is we could work in like that powerful matriarch if we wanted to,
right?
Because his dad doesn't have to play a main character. I mean, his dad would die off eventually.
Okay, so it's his. Yeah, so
he's
Nazi's the dad, but then he has
his
a daughter.
Son or daughter. Jeez, look at me. Just the daughter is the one who is taking charge of the family because her dad, ex-war man, drunk, doesn't want to...
Ex-war man.
What do they call those, soldiers? It's a classic spray painter.
You going to the ex-war man chicken dinner tonight?
Celebrating our ex-war man parade.
Oh my god!
So, but what I'm trying to say is, we give her a reason to become the main person.
Yeah,
because her dad.
You can get it all.
Yeah. Hurry up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, I'm crying.
Her dad was destroyed after the war. They lost the war, and he's no help to the family. And the only person who's gonna.
Yeah, so maybe it's something about their family situation. So her dad, it's for one reason or another, he's just kind of useless. And maybe it's the three of them. It's her dad, her mom, and herself. And so she's in one of those unique situations where she kind of has to carry the family for one reason or another.
Because maybe, and this could go into a little bit of rationale why they chose the life that they did. Perhaps the husband had a very hot temper, and they never forgot that.
I've heard Nazis had hot tempers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
recap.
Yep.
Main character is the female that will be the matriarch
Yeah.
of this family.
So
okay,
she
gotcha.
is the daughter of
Yep.
this Nazi who
Yep.
fled to Mexico. And so by the time, and this can be in the 50s, so by the time she's an adult and she's kind of running things, it's easily 15, 20 years later.
Yeah.
So that puts us right around, I don't know, math.
65.
Let's put it in Cuba.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Cuba?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a communist country, though.
exactly.
It did become yeah.
Was it communist in the 50s?
Yes.
So they're running against the grain.
Okay.
but you were playing an actual historical
Yeah.
play that like they're
Yeah.
which I kind of like.
Okay.
South America.
I
Like,
like,
strike three. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun.
No, I mean I didn't know that until you repeated it, so I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
But I kind of like it because I like how it treads this. I'm going to use National Treasure or those films that like tread.
Fiction, nonfiction,
Yeah, you know what I
historical
mean?
fiction. line.
It's rooted in history, but then you sort of
Yeah, you elaborate and make your own story out of it, but there's enough
Yeah.
truth in it. You know, like, so when we come back to your points, Dave, about like the Ghost Pepper and the Carolina Reapers and stuff, it's like those work into this, but they come from something in our story. You know what I mean? They came from this family.
right. So how do they get that name?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
And then if eventually if we decide to split it up into these sort of warring families, it's kind of got a Gangs
I
of
like
New York vibe to it.
Yeah. So the Carolina Reaper ends up becoming like an actual person. All these modern day pepper
like
names
the-
are
it's like the-
homages to
yeah.
this time.
Yeah. I was to say exactly. Like, so maybe there's this like crazy Gangs of New York-esque brawl, like
In a museum.
in the story, in a museum, maybe.
On the steps of a museum.
But
Kinda like
and there's like
untouchables.
this like crazy chick named Caroline.
Yeah.
She's
She
the
was
Reaper.
deadly.
The Ripper.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she killed the most people in the great unknown pepper wars.
Yeah.
And
So, what's our girl's name? Getting back into it. Our German girl. We just saw her getting
Heidi.
poured hot pepper sauce all over her body, and then gets cut to when
Caroline,
she's younger.
right?
Oh,
Caroline? No, because this is a different.
You said
oh
that.
no, this is different because
Caroline was the example of somebody who would be part of the Carolina Reaper
gang.
family.
Yeah.
Gang.
So now we cut to like she's saying after the war, we moved to South America and they're coming off the boat. Her name is German. Insert German girl name.
Is Heidi German?
Sure is.
Yeah.
And Swiss.
Yeah.
nice. All right, Heidi.
Heidi.
I like Heidi.
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 And so they arrive, and maybe we already said this, so I might be reiterating, but in order to make a living, she like is working in the fields, right? She's going out, she's like picking peppers, she's working for these other families and sort of getting the lay of the land. Is that sort of her
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe-
is that where her education comes from, where she
Yeah.
sort of starts to get this, and then she
Yeah,
has
yeah.
opportunities to do whatever, or see a little bit more, learn a little bit more, and then has that.
Maybe her family doesn't come over because I know a lot of Nazis went there to hide, and so maybe her family doesn't come over in such as good states with the other Nazis. So her dad's a disgrace and a drunk, and their family has no money. You know, and so maybe her and her mom are forced to sort of take on this remedial labor in these foreign countries that they wouldn't have normally done. And that's where she starts to learn about, because she's working for one of the other families. I mean, she starts to learn that these
Right.
she's picking peppers that are part of a bigger world.
It could be this like at first this entrepreneurial spirit that takes over because she sees that these guys are doing things a certain way, but they're kind of missing in on this niche market of making hotter and hotter product.
Her Aryan super brain.
Right, her Aryan superbrain tells
No,
her.
but I like the
Yeah.
idea that her dad was a botanist, and so
Yeah.
and that's when things start to get she starts to sort of crossbreed certain peppers.
Exactly. Well, and possibly because she's working for all these different farms, every day she like sneaks a pepper away, and she begins to grow all the best. She begins to grow all these things at home, then starts to like take the best parts of this one or whatever, and makes our Jurassic Park super dinosaur, you know?
And so we're probably talking about. Oh, sorry. I would say we're probably talking about a 12-year-old at the moment.
Sure.
Yeah, she's young right now, but I love like the parallels between, you know, you think of like the Diamond Game or something like that, where like every day they like search them. I don't want to get like really dark here, but like she sneaks these out in a clever way. Not necessarily like body cavities. Okay, I'm not going there. I'm just saying like in a different way, she sneaks the peppers out because they do. It's like, take this to the level of if we're being kind of farcical with it, which I kind of got that in the beginning. Maybe we aren't, but like people protect these peppers like they would protect like drugs or diamonds or something like that.
It is their. I mean, I think it's very legit. Monsanto does it to this day.
Yeah.
So
it's their livelihood, and so its value is sort of subjective, right?
Every day she gives herself her little blonde German braids, and every day she like lets down her hair in the field. She sticks one pepper in one side and one pepper in the other, and re-braids it so she like can steal two at a time. So
I think. Sorry, were you going to say?
Well, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say just to kind of keep things moving forward. I think it might be important just to so we've established our character Heidi. She's a descent from a Nazi Germany family who fled to Mexico. She and her mother are they're sort of assimilated into Mexican culture by way of picking peppers, right? And so, what is it that we've kind of touched on it, but just to sort of really solidify, what is it that she wants? Sorry.
I think we've got something kind of.
Yeah.
Because I think what she wants is going to help her get up the social ladder a little bit. And I like the idea of the botanist father who might be helping her to learn. Like, she's taking the peppers home. She's learning about it. But I think she needs another friend, another person to help her make her way in the new world. And if this is a big plantation of sort, the person, the family that owns it, maybe they have a daughter that plays around in the fields and would become friends with with our main character. So that becomes her in to the larger world.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
They become friends.
They become friends. And so, you know, oh, hey, invite your friend for dinner or something, right? And then that's when Heidi meets all the other
actual family,
the elite,
not the pickers or the fieldmen.
Can we make it a boy?
Sure.
Because then we have the opportunity for.
I was kind of hoping it'd be a fish.
Love interest.
We haven't done many fish love interests yet.
She finds Aaron. Aaron in the field.
I don't know. I like that.
There's something I thought of. So like the motivation for her to kind of do this or to kind of do things a different way, you know, Nazism was like a big power grab. Everything was a big power grab, and you have to, you know, convince people and get people on board, and it's very much about power. And maybe she kind of like rejects the way that power was done, but in kind of rejecting it, she sort of is, and making fun of the way that the guys are doing stuff. She is seeking to do things her own way, and by rejecting it, she ends up embracing it, and that'll be her eventual
because she has
undoing.
To control everything,
right?
To
And
do
then she has to control everything to do it her own way.
So interesting.
So that could be kind of the motivation a little bit.
I kind of like that. So she, by virtue of having fled Nazi Germany, she kind of recognizes the flaws within a fascist or a dictatorship, and it's because it's very sort of it is a power grab, and she kind of recognizes if you play within the rules of a system, so you essentially play the game, and you sort of make the system work for you, as opposed to being ultra forceful about it. And I think that's kind of fun too, because then that
speaks more to organized crime a little bit.
As she becomes more powerful, she has to balance that want to be forceful.
So how does she start to do it?
I like where you were going. And I feel like one of the things that often happens in these films is that either someone is sort of grasping for that power in their rise, or they're just sort of naturally like taking it, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, whether they fully realize it or not. So it could be in all good intention that she
could be helping the family at first.
Right. Like she's in the family and she's like, oh, I have these ideas, I've learned this, I've whatever. But she's starting to sort of branch out and do like maybe her own little thing, but there's that point where you like almost get your hand slapped, or you almost get like the rug pulled out from under you or something that then changes their motivation from being like just a natural motivation of whatever to I'm
gonna get you back.
I'm gonna do it my own way now. Right.
I like where you were going with the unintentional one. I think it's kind of cool because I think that's the cruel irony of the whole thing is like if she ends up, she kind of rejects this way of doing this thing, and then by inadvertently becoming the person that she hates, she has this crazy realization, and by that time everyone already hates her and they're after her.
Right. So there's also an interesting thing, and is she playing in a world that is primarily patriarchal?
Oh yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, there's that could also be a really interesting like story element that like,
absolutely,
if she's coming from a place where
that might be where she gets the slap on the wrist at some point.
Right. Where she's stepping too far and then decides I'm going to go do this on my own.
Too bossy.
Or something.
So you care about certain things in your life, right, guys? Maybe it's your car,
or a boat. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's your car, clothes, maybe your career. What about the other C words in your life?
Me, Chris.
We care about you, Chris, but what about coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
Well, maybe you should, actually, because if you cared, you wouldn't pay for crazy prices for mass-produced coffee, or you could actually give a damn, Chris, and grind and brew some Abracadabra coffee. That's right. Abracadabra single-origin coffee is grown by farmers who give a damn and roasted in the mountains of southern Vermont by people who give a damn. So give a damn it, Chris, and get yourself some today by visiting abracadabracoffee.com. Yes, friends, that's abracadabracoffee.com. And tell them the Story Machine 9000 sent you. What a riveting ad.
Yeah.
Heidi's
Heidi.
rise to power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heidi's rise to power.
So, and I'll jump right into it. But we talked about how she makes a friend of the son, of the son
Aaron.
of the cart. Yeah,
Aaron.
How do you spell that?
Aaron. Aaron.
Okay. So yeah, she becomes more than just a field hand. She becomes the friend of the family, and it makes sense that she would be eventually she would be in a position to sort of introduce this botanist spirit that she has to the family, and that could help propel her forward even more. Like I had this idea, like this is even spicier, and the patriarch of the family is like, that's good.
Yes.
As you see me doing
for those listeners at home, Chris just pursed his lips, pinched his hands, and like he was holding a heavy coin purse.
This is an Italian.
I love where you're going, because it took me to this place that maybe the family that she's first working with, they're not at the bottom necessarily, but they're also not currently at the top.
Yeah, they're somewhere in the middle. I like that.
Yeah, maybe they're sort of caught between two of these other families, right?
Mm-hmm. So the Reaper family and
the Carolina Reapers and the Ghost family.
Yeah.
The Ghost. She's become friends. She's a valued member because she brought in this new
knowledge
species.
Knowledge.
Yeah, more money, and it could eventually. Maybe she doesn't realize it at the time because she's just a young girl, but the family might see her as less of an outsider, as an immigrant, and more of part of the family. And they give her bigger jobs, and they trust her to be. Yeah.
Yes, years pass. And she grows up in the kind of employ of this other family, and we find
her father's probably passed away by now.
Yes, and the rest of the family is falling on hard times because of his Nazi money's run out, and now they need her more than ever, and they come to her and say, okay, you know a little bit about farming and about peppers and stuff like that. What if we made our own thing. Like, we're desperate. And so she starts her own little farm. Oh, go ahead.
I think this. Well, I think we always knew. No, this is a yes and.
Yes and, okay.
So we always knew that her family, her German family, was poor. Because that's why they were in the fields picking peppers.
Right.
And if her father's kind of died, and she's become integrated into this cartel family. Maybe this works. Yeah, this could work with Chad's thing. You were talking about eventually getting that sort of slap on the wrist. Maybe this is where she tries to take a bigger role, like the pepper you guys are growing. Like, everyone grows that pepper. Like
she oversteps her bounds.
I see what you're.
She says, "I think we should do this instead."
Yeah, I like that. I wonder if we could even work in, like, time has passed, the budding relationship between her and her own
friend.
Her own.
Yeah.
And perhaps there's even like a marriage there, and so then once they're joined, she assumes that she's going to have more of a say or a role, and so she goes to do that to say, like, hey, like, my family, by the way, we could do this, and I have these ideas, and she finds out that like, you're.
Because she's a wife now.
Yeah,
it's sort
you're
of
just
like,
a wife.
You mean Mexico in the 50s didn't have all the equal rights for women?
Shockingly, no.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
and
I dig that.
We could build up their relationship, and it seems all great, and then it gets there, and you find out that no, this isn't what you thought it was going to be. We've taken
we like your help so far.
Yeah, we've taken all your knowledge and all the stuff you've added, and they're my ideas. We find out that Aaron's a big dick.
Oh,
Yeah.
right on.
And
Okay,
Aaron,
so in
Aaron. Aaron's a big dick.
So we find out that in a lot of ways he's kind of using her. I mean, there's still something there in terms of chemistry and love and stuff like that. But from a strictly business perspective
and family standpoint,
maybe,
he's trying to climb the ladder in the family.
Well, yeah, maybe he's the next in line, and the truth comes out, because you're right. This is in the 50s, and for as much as they care about each other, and for as much as, like, she's really smart, he's still a little old school, and like, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait, you're taking way too many steps here. This is my family, my job. Like, you go hang out with the other ones.
Dude, I love where this is going, because it's feeding into this like note that I wrote a while ago, and someone, I think Dave, you said something that made me think of it. But I wrote Mantis, and I wrote it as possibly the name of the pepper, but also maybe it's informed by Heidi in some way. Yeah. And so now we're getting into this, like, strife between her and her husband.
Okay, so
the table is just electrified right now.
Yes. So I had this thought, maybe there's this scene, right? So this is where this could possibly come out. They're at a board meeting of sorts, the board of directors for the family business, being mostly family members, right?
Which is like just like a dinner table, right?
Essentially.
Okay.
Essentially,
less of
it
a
could
board
be a dinner
meeting,
table,
more of a family.
But they are being strategic about what they're going to be doing next with the business.
Okay, sorry, I was thinking like Italian mobs, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no. That's fine. So they're sitting around, and it's like Heidi and Aaron get aligned on what they're going to present to the family during the meeting.
Yeah.
And she has this idea for this new pepper, and that they've been developing together, and that they're gonna present it to the family. They're gonna blow them away, and this is the way that we're gonna go going forward. During the meeting, Aaron takes credit for it and says, yes, I did this. And she just, like, she's fuming in the background. She knows the transgression that's gone on.
Yes.
They haven't named it yet, but
yeah. So 2 things.
Yes.
One, going off of the Mantis thing, and I like that, and we could maybe have some
you know where I'm going with this.
Well, we could have some, like, visual representation of this development, where earlier on in the field,
some sort of foreshadowing.
Yeah, some foreshadowing where earlier on in the field she sees a female mantis kill her husband, because that's what mantis do.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
it eats its mate.
It eats its mate.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this is that we were talking about that struggle between being like the Nazis and being forceful with like taking power, or this idea of that doesn't work, let's work in the shadows. But now that her husband has sort of said, no, you can't play.
Right. I'm going to do this.
That would be the first time where she's sort of forced to think like, well, maybe I should take things into my own hands.
Right. Exactly. Like that's what
I'm just trying to
spurs her on. Spurs her on.
I'm just trying to help rework that struggle of like, maybe I should, like, am I doing the right thing by taking things into my own hands? Mm-hmm.
And so I can easily see it being this sort of the inherent challenge is, on the one hand, she still loves this person, but on the other, I mean, he's being kind of a douche about it, right? I mean, he's clearly stealing her ideas and claiming that they're his own. I guess what speaks more to her personality? Because I was thinking that either she could take the steps to essentially off Aaron, or is he killed somehow? So again, going back to just character, is she motivated enough to do that?
Aaron isn't the head of the family yet, though, is he?
He's not.
I don't think he yet.
Be.
No, he's not.
And if she were to kill him, she wouldn't really have any stake in the family yet.
I'm saying in a future situation when he eventually does become the patriarch of the family.
So what she would do, wouldn't she help? She would start helping him in
his rise to power.
Right. Because she's not going to be able to do anything until he's actually.
So it's the long con. So she's purposely helping him rise to the top, knowing that she's eventually going to off him.
You slapped my wrist, but I'm going to help you.
Yeah,
for a little while.
That's like where the simmer starts, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's like it starts simmering there, and then the like. This would be where, from our viewer's standpoint, it seems like everything's sort of going as normal, and she's a little upset. And
there's like one little clap of thunder, but it quells just for a little bit, and you're thinking, all right, the storm's over.
Okay, but then it's still going. But like in realization, when we like look back, we're like, oh my God, she was planning things for a while, possibly. I'm saying, but I do think, Josh, to your point, there may need to be more of a tipping point or more things that happen if we want to say Heidi goes from like, hey, I had these grandiose plans and I had a thing I wanted to do, and more so than like, you took my one idea, now I'm gonna fucking kill you.
I think there's got to be something. There's got to be something more that forces her to go from 0 to 60.
Yeah,
and I feel like but whatever it is, it's all under the excuse of, it's just business, right? So Aaron is the kind of person who separates family from business, and so anytime he sort of missteps in the eyes of Heidi, his excuse is always it's just business.
Yeah, they step out of that meeting, and she's like, you didn't.
She actually,
you didn't say we did that. Yeah, and he's like, oh, honey, it's just business, and that becomes a reoccurring thing. I love it,
and so
I love it.
So what if? Oh, I was gonna say, what if the pivotal moment is, and maybe this is too atypical, but I'll put it out there. If that pivotal moment is Heidi's mom, something happens, something where, because her mom worked in the same fields as Heidi, maybe she still does, because they're still sort of struggling for money, and even though Heidi's been in the family, maybe there's this thing where we sort of take care of mom, but we don't really, and
Mom's too proud to take money.
Maybe she's too proud. Yeah. Maybe she's too proud to take money, and there's a little bit of like conflict there. But in some way, shape, or form, Heidi's new family results in mom, see you later.
Yeah. No, I think it goes to an earlier part in the conversation where we say, to them, this is serious business. This is their livelihood, right? And we talked about this idea of blood diamonds, that, people, they make sure that their workers aren't smuggling some out. And Heidi's mom
gets caught,
missteps, and which results in the family offing her.
Yeah,
that's another notch for Heidi.
Business,
publicly or something.
Yeah,
right?
And it's no bueno.
Right. And so then so that becomes this like point where that's Heidi's total transformation, right? Or at least from from being like, I'll play the long con to.
So, but by this point, would we say that maybe her husband is the head of the family? If we're gonna help,
I would say, or close,
or close,
maybe second in
like,
command.
I guess
soon after
I'm
he's
thinking of
promoted.
one of those like part of the one of those crazy sort of dramatic montage rise to powers. There's like
perhaps, Chad, that he is the one who catches the mom in the kind of stealing of the pepper, and it's just yet another thing.
Yes, he makes the call.
He makes the call, and he gets promoted because of it. His rise to power, the mom's outing from the picture.
Well, I'd like to. I think maybe her husband should make the call somehow. But I feel like he wouldn't make it to power yet until his father passes away.
Right. It's a promotion. It's not. He's not sitting in the C-suite.
Yeah. And the other thing is that Heidi's gonna have to make some other friends so that when she does take power, she has some muscle behind it. She can't just, you know what I mean? She's got to be making someone else. Someone else has to be doing some dirty work for her. Guys, just. Think about that.
Oh, wait. Could this be the entrance?
Well,
go ahead, Chad.
Sorry, just I think for sure there'd have to be other people besides her, especially if it's just her.
Because someone has to agree, like, she should.
Or is it just that the majority of the folks here follow who's in power?
A little bit of
sort
both,
of a Scarface type thing.
But she's got to have someone who does the dirty work for her.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, I'm thinking like people switch pretty fast. Like,
I think the majority of the family would say like, well, you were, I don't know exactly what it's called in like a Mexican cartel, but you were the Don's wife, and you know what you're doing, and you also have this really scary second. We're gonna listen to you.
Yeah.
But that's her future state still.
Right.
Dave, you
were going to jump in too, Dave. Sorry.
Oh no,
I agree with you, Chris. I think there would probably need to be some alternate characters that are built up a little bit in the background along the way.
I remember now
to give that support. And I kind of like it being done because like maybe she's like really sweet on the outside, right?
Very generous,
but she's like
very
poison.
Homely.
But like she has this like super dark side too. When we get there, like we're not there right away, but you find that out. Like,
I think there could be this spurned a female bond that could occur. So this type of interaction that Heidi is experiencing is probably not just her own. She's probably having interactions with other ladies who are experiencing the same thing in the same time, the same industry, and it happens all the time. And perhaps, she can strike up a friendship with Carolina, who has been similarly burned in just trying to make her way through this industry and with absolutely no luck. So, but Carolina is a fiery
I was wondering if
I like this idea of Heidi somehow befriending Caroline, whether it's through. So yes, let's say for the sake of argument that like Caroline is dating or the wife of somebody else in the family, and they start to develop a mutual friendship because they're sort of outcasts in the family. In other words, they're women, and so they don't necessarily, they're not entitled to the same
seats,
respect and privilege. Right.
Yeah. And so they work together to kind of usurp this patriarchy, but little does Heidi, our protagonist, know that Caroline is kind of just as cutthroat.
Yes.
And
total psychopath.
Then we catch up with that scene that we established in the beginning where Heidi's being tortured essentially.
Yeah.
And come to find that Caroline is behind it.
Yes.
And she says it's just business.
Yes.
Oh.
So yes. That's exactly what I was thinking, Josh.
For those at home, Chris was just pointing at Josh
and everywhere in the room.
Everywhere in the room for the last 30 seconds.
So I would like to take one step back, assuming that Caroline helped kill the Don, the head of the family, to get Heidi's husband into position.
Yeah.
And they help work each other up. And yes, this point in the story, somehow Heidi gets kidnapped by some unknown group of people. She's beat, she's thrown in this hole, and they're pouring pepper on her wound. And then all of a sudden, in the light of the truck lights, Caroline walks in. She steps in, and you realize that she was the one who had sort of orchestrated this hit on Heidi.
Her. Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool.
So
at some point, we'll have to work in the prop.
Just going to go there.
And location.
I was just going to go there. Well, the prep is.
I know.
We're always the whole time we're working towards the hottest.
Right. The hottest pepper sauce.
That's
right.
what. That's like that's like this goal. That's the thing that Heidi comes up with that helps escalate them to power. And maybe that's the connection between her and Caroline. That she's like, listen, I can do this. Maybe Caroline's the muscle, which I really like.
Yeah.
But I still like that Heidi has an edge. I think that I like that she at some point I don't know, I can't let go of this Mantis idea. I love Heidi's the idea that she that she's the Mantis. And that the hottest bottle of hot sauce in the world is the Mantis hot sauce. It's the Mantis Pepper. I was gonna work the line in with when the mom dies. Like because it's I quit. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe she tries to quit and you can't. You know.
Clever.
Maybe you can't quit.
So it's after Heidi's mom is murdered, and she's having a discussion. This is when she finds out that Aran is responsible for it, and she says, "I quit," and he says something to the effect of, "There's no quitting.
Like you can't quit the family.
There's no quitting the family."
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I was saying the mom quit, but I like where you went.
Yeah.
I quit
way
life.
better.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Peace. Goodbye, world.
I was thinking that the mom was like I'm fucking old and I'm not gonna do this, and they like say, hey, you get out there and do that, and she's like, I quit, man.
Right.
No, but I like where you are.
Yeah, because that could be another like notch in her anger level.
Yeah.
So we got to work this museum in somehow.
Heidi is in this pit. She was left there to die.
There you go, left there to die.
But she's not going to die, because this is where the story catches up. Since then, it's been I'm going to tell you how I got to this pit.
Right.
And now she's filled with rage and anger, and it's not about playing the con game anymore. She's going to take everything she can.
Right.
And so, I know we got to fast track a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, so what if this is where the whole concept, and I know you guys can just stop me, but
no.
where the whole concept of like the Mantis and like the long haul comes into play, and I'm channeling a little bit of like Walter White and Breaking Bad, and the way they wrote that story and those arcs is that like maybe even up to the point of where you feel like that Heidi's like in the worst point ever and never gonna make it out. It's like she has like pieces on the table, and like she's like some of the backup muscle, the guys that Caroline has there are like hers, right? And so as we're sitting here and she's being tortured and all this shit's going on, then like someone turns on Caroline, like unbeknownst, and like shit goes down, and like some sort of scuffle where like lots of people die, but there's a few people left. Heidi gets out and she like removes the last few people there. Like she kills the last few people, so that she's literally the last woman standing in this like space, which leads us into like, now I'm in charge.
I'm gonna play off of that, like what you just said. I love it, and also like the I quit thing. So like it's almost like Caroline is like torturing her as like she's like sitting there in the pit, right? She's like, say you quit. She's like say it, like say I quit. She's like, no, and she says no, and all of a sudden like a gun's raised to Caroline's head by like one of the henchmen, pops her, and so like and she's like, thank you, and like she gets out of the pit, and she's clearly has always been like been in power and will continue to be in power.
If anyone's going to kill Caroline, I think it should be Heidi. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
really?
there should be someone who
Oh.
helps, but because this is the point where she starts taking control of everything.
Would
So
it be? Yeah, it would be more satisfying to our audience.
So where I thought you were going with that, Dave, is that
Yeah.
Caroline is forcing Heidi to quit the business because that means you're no longer a threat and I don't have
Right.
to kill you.
Right. I see.
And,
Yes.
and
That's better than what I was going.
And eventually Heidi does say, I quit, but it's not in earnest. She doesn't mean it. And so then Caroline lets her guard down, and Heidi, who's not one to let go of a grudge, pop.
And now that she's killed Caroline, the guy, I mean, this could be her like I've killed
your boss.
now you listen to me,
Right.
kind of thing. And so so now she's got enough people to sort of take over the rest of the family.
Nice.
Oh, that's
and she
interesting.
does.
And she does.
And she's the only one that comes back,
Okay. Yes.
right? So she's the only one that returns, and her husband's like, shit.
So going off that and to work in the location, and
Goodness,
because her husband didn't, he said that her mother should die, but he wasn't the one who did it. He's not the one who gets his hands dirty. He's just the one who calls the shots. So when him and Caroline decide to knock her off, Heidi off, he shows his face, but then he leaves and lets Caroline take care of the dirty work. He was going to some sort of event at a museum, like a meeting of the family or a gala or a something very fancy. So this whole scene's going on. She kills everybody, yes, at the like gravesite where she was going to get killed, and then she heads off to
The party.
The party.
So she shows up
And
like
she
all.
Bloodied.
and she just like
Yeah.
wrecks her husband.
Oh, she wrecks the joint there. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Nice.
I just didn't know if she just walked in and like he's just scared shitless.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that she like she goes like Kill Bill and destroys the
Yeah.
whole place, but I'm just saying that
So-
somehow she kills him there, and that's sort of like our high point. This could be an interesting place to end the story. Usually, gangster films they go like the anti-hero gets killed off. Usually, but at this point, I feel like the whole story's been about her taking control of the family, and so
Right.
at the point that she kills her husband, she could maybe like walk into the museum to sort of like take power, and we're kind of left with like what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that's when we roll credits, maybe.
That's the whole
yeah.
story is
Oh,
just her ride.
That's interesting because so before, sorry,
it's okay.
and I'm trying to track here. So, her husband Aaron is at this museum. And
Aaron.
he's kind of giving a speech, right?
Oh, yeah.
And she offs him, and then at the end of the flick, she assumes his position
Yeah.
at the podium
Yes.
to almost finish his speech. To
Not what I was thinking, but
Okay.
super cool.
yeah, it would be like a visual echo, but right, cool.
Yeah, and then she assumes power, and that's
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love,
we're
I
left
love
to-
the end that she like, you know,
Everyone's like wondering, well, maybe he doesn't even start. And she gets him before he starts, right?
Yeah.
And
she
they're like,
walks
where is he?
out.
And she walks up and says, "This is
Yeah.
yeah,
Right on.
yeah."
Cool.
And
And
Fade
to black.
All right. Cool. I'm not even going to attempt to recap that.
it had some twists and turns.
Yeah, people are just going to have to deal. All right. We need a title.
The Mantis Pepper.
the Mantis Pepper.
The Mantis Pepper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good deal. All right.
The hottest film this summer.
Go see.
you will be
Mantis
sweating in your
Pepper.
seat.
All right. If you have any ideas of what the label of the Mantis Pepper hot sauce might look like, please send them to storymachine9000@gmail.com or on Twitter at storymachine9k, #SM9k. And we want to give a special shout out to our friends at the Grown Ups Podcast, a podcast about movies, video games, and essentially geeking out. You can find them on SoundCloud. Our logo design is by David Paget, music by Dave Ailing. Editing for this episode was done by Chad Dankert. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and now you can find us on Stitcher or wherever else you find your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.